Many people's perceptions of celestial beings are incorrect, at least according to the Bible. Today, I will focus on celestial beings as described in the scriptures. But before doing so, let's explore how most people incorrectly view these heavenly entities. When someone thinks of celestial beings, the common image that comes to many minds is that of angels, often depicted as human figures with large feathered wings, bearing halos, and sometimes carrying harps or trumpets. These figures, deeply rooted in cultural and religious tapestries, are represented as human beings, adorned with broad feathered wings and radiant halos, occasionally with musical instruments. This representation was heavily influenced by Renaissance art, literature, and later by popular culture. Historically, art and literature have played fundamental roles in shaping our understanding and perception of such heavenly entities. From the paintings of Raphael and Botticelli to the verses of John Milton's Paradise Lost, angels have been endowed with human qualities, making them relatable and yet supernatural. This anthropomorphism reflects humanity's desire to understand the divine, to build a bridge between the mortal and the eternal. Additionally, movies, television shows, and even holiday images, particularly in the Western world, have further solidified this representation, often diluting the profound spiritual significance of these beings into mere decorative ideas or fantastical characters. Celestial beings are not cute or angelic creatures who spend their days playing harps. They are incredibly powerful beings. They do not look like cupids. They are real spiritual beings with true power. The simple fact that these celestial beings can be in the presence of the Lord and see the face of the Lord reveals their power. You and I, in our mortal bodies and with all our sin, cannot stand and see the face of the Lord, for the Word of God tells us, "No man shall see me and live." Exodus 33:20. But the angels can see the Lord. Listen to how the angel Gabriel introduces himself. In Luke 1:19, the angel answered and said, "I am Gabriel, who stands in the presence of God, and I was sent to speak to you and bring you these glad tidings." What an introduction. Gabriel is in the direct presence of the Lord. If you and I saw the face of the Lord in all his holiness and glory, our spirit would leave our body faster than we can blink. Angels. One angel killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night. 2 Kings 19:35. Angels. One angel shut the mouths of the lions. Daniel 6:22. Angels. One angel rolled away the stone from Jesus' tomb. Matthew 28:2. Angels. One angel guided Philip to the Ethiopian eunuch for a divine encounter. Acts 8:26-39. Angels. One angel freed Peter from Herod's prison. Acts 12:7-11. These benevolent beings are sent by God as messengers, protectors, and guides for humanity. However, cherubim, while under the broad umbrella of celestial entities, are distinctly different from traditional angels, both in function and appearance. They are not ordinary angels, not even archangels. They are unique, a kind of their own celestial being, distinct from the standalone angels. The Bible gives us several detailed descriptions of cherubim that starkly contrast with the common perception of angels. The most vivid representation of cherubim is found in the book of Ezekiel. In Ezekiel 1:5-11 we read, "And out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures. And this was their appearance. They had the likeness of a man. And everyone had 4 faces, and everyone had 4 wings. And their feet were straight feet. And the sole of their feet was like the sole of a calf's foot. And they sparkled like the color of burnished brass. And they had the hands of a man under their wings on their 4 sides. And they 4 had their faces and their wings." These cherubim are described as having 4 faces and 4 wings, feet like those of a calf, and shining like polished bronze. They have human hands under their wings on their 4 sides. These descriptions, though complex and hard to imagine, give us a vision of celestial beings that are much more than the simplistic representations we often see. Therefore, as we delve deeper into the celestial beings as described in the Bible, we must remember that their true nature and appearance are far more grand and complex than any cultural or artistic image we may have. We must recognize the depth and spiritual power of these beings, understanding that they are closely linked to the divine and play fundamental roles in God's plan for humanity. Their wings were joined one to another. They turned not when they went everyone straight forward. As for the likeness of their faces, they four had the face of a man and the face of a lion on the right side. And they four had the face of an ox on the left side. They four also had the face of an eagle. Ezekiel 1:9-11. This is the living creature that I saw under the God of Israel by the river Chebar, and I knew that they were the cherubims. Everyone had 4 faces apiece, and everyone 4 wings, and the likeness of the hands of a man was under their wings. And the likeness of their faces was the same faces which I saw by the river Chebar. Their appearances and themselves, they went everyone straight forward. Ezekiel 10:20-22. In Ezekiel's vision, the cherubim are described as having multiple faces, of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Here, in the appearance of this celestial being, we find one of the most intriguing aspects of the creature. It has multiple faces, the faces of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. So we have a celestial creature that possesses the faces of creatures of this earth. We know that the cherubim were created before the creation of the world because in the book of Job, we see that the sons of God, who were angels, shouted for joy when God created the earth. In Job 38:6-7 we read, "Whereupon are the foundations thereof fastened? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof, when the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy?" We clearly understand that the angels predate the creation of the earth, therefore also predate the creation of all living creatures on this earth. In simple terms, this means they precede the creatures they resemble. Isn't that intriguing? After studying this area of Scripture, I never looked at humans, lions, oxen, and eagles the same way again. This point may not be as surprising to everyone, but when I understood that this celestial creature has these 4 faces and yet precedes all these 4 creatures, I was completely amazed. So, here we have the cherubim, and I think we can all agree that the cherubim are unique creatures. They bear the likeness of earthly creatures that were not created when the cherubim were created. That is why I describe these wonderful celestial creatures as the most mysterious, because they clearly have a connection to earth. But the Bible does not reveal a tremendous amount of information about them. Imagine the sight of this extraordinary creature before your eyes, the cherubim, as described in the passages from Ezekiel, with 4 faces looking at you, the human, the lion, the ox, and the eagle, all unified in one being. Their form is similar to a human, but adorned with 4 wings that seem to carry them effortlessly through the skies. Straight legs and feet like polished bronze reveal a majestic presence, while under these powerful wings, human hands emanate both power and grace. Can you imagine the mixture of emotions you would feel upon seeing this celestial creature? Fear and wonder intertwine as you feel both terrified and moved by its presence. The realization of standing before a creature with such divine significance humbles your soul, for the cherubim are not ordinary beings. They guard the very presence of the Almighty. Can they be classified as angels? Cherubim are a specific type of celestial being mentioned in the Bible. They are often associated with angels and are considered a high order of angels. However, it is important to note that cherubim and angels are not necessarily interchangeable terms, as not all angels are described as cherubim in the Bible. Cherubim are tasked with guarding the presence of God and serving in heavenly worship. They are closely associated with the throne of God. On the other hand, angels, in a broader sense, refer to spiritual beings who serve as God's messengers and perform various tasks according to God's will. The term angel is used more broadly to describe different hierarchies and functions of celestial beings, including messengers, protectors, and guides. Some angels are mentioned by name in the Bible, such as Michael and Gabriel, and they have specific roles in certain biblical events. So, while cherubim can be considered angels, they are a special class with distinct functions and appearances. They show us the richness and diversity of the celestial realm and remind us of the complexity and majesty of divine creation. May we always seek to understand and appreciate more deeply these wonderful beings as revealed in the Holy Scriptures. Cherubim are a specific type of angel. Not all angels are necessarily cherubim. Cherubim have unique characteristics and roles that distinguish them from other angelic beings mentioned in the Bible. In the spiritual realm, there are many celestial beings that we cannot fully comprehend. We know some of them, such as the Seraphim, flaming creatures that stand in the presence of God and shine with holiness. There are also the archangels, powerful messengers of God who bring important messages to us. In the book of Revelation, we see the majestic horses in the sky, with one of them carrying a triumphant rider on a white horse, representing victory and justice. Can you imagine? How incredible that vision would be. These celestial beings are incredibly beautiful and powerful. But let's think a bit. While the Bible tells us about some celestial beings, there is much we do not know about the spiritual realm. Have you ever wondered about other celestial beings that the Bible does not mention? Can you imagine the wonderful things we will see in heaven? In Isaiah 6:1-7, we read, "In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple. Above it stood the seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet. And with twain he did fly. And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And the posts of the door moved at the voice of him that cried, and the house was filled with smoke. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For mine eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Then flew one of the seraphim unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. The nature and essence of the seraphim provide a profound insight into the celestial realm, revealing aspects of God's character and his interaction with humanity. The term seraphim literally translates to burning ones or flaming ones. This description not only represents their radiant appearance, but also symbolizes the passion and intensity of their worship. This burning zeal for worship is a personification of the pure response of the heart to the unmatched holiness and majesty of the Almighty. The very fabric of creation, from the galaxies that stretch across the vastness of the cosmos to the intricate design of the human soul, emanates from the profound brilliance of our Creator. It is only fitting, then, that every angel, every celestial being, every corner of the universe, every atom and molecule echoes with songs of worship to the one who brought them into existence. God, in his unparalleled majesty, wonder, and glory, not only created the world, he breathed life, purpose, and wonder into it. A creator so magnificent demands our deepest reverence and unceasing worship. And here we see that in the assembly of heaven, countless beings acknowledge and respond to this divine mandate. God deserves to be worshipped. God is worthy of worship. Among this heavenly host of beings we have never seen, the seraphim stand out, not merely as spectators, but as active participants in this eternal symphony of praise. These luminous beings, with their flaming essence, exemplify a worship that is both fervent and pure. Their very name, denoting burning passion, signifies the intensity of their devotion. It is as if they were forged from the very flames of worship, embodying a love so deep, so pure, that it can only be described as burning. If these magnificent creatures, so close to the throne of God, are consumed with the desire to worship him, how much more should we, beneficiaries of his grace and love, be drawn to praise and honor the great Creator? In the presence of such inspiring devotion, may our hearts be ignited with the same burning passion to worship and magnify the Lord of all creation. In Isaiah's encounter, a striking feature of these beings is their 6 wings. 2 of the wings were used to cover their faces. This action was not born out of fear, but of profound reverence and respect in the presence of the Holy One. Even the most holy angels covered their faces, indicating an acknowledgement of the incomparable glory of God. Another pair of wings was used to cover their feet. In biblical times, feet were often considered the most impure part of the body, as they were continuously in contact with the ground and the dust of the earth. The seraphim covering their feet can be seen as a symbolic gesture of humility, denoting the desire not to present anything impure before the Lord. The remaining wings had a functional purpose: flight. This denotes not only the ability to move, but readiness. The seraphim are always prepared, always waiting on God, ready to respond to His commands or proclamations immediately. Their constant flight around the throne is a testament to their vigilance and unceasing service. But their form and function are not the only things that capture attention. The vocal exclamations of the seraphim, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of His glory," Isaiah 6:3, speak volumes about their primary mission. This is not a casual declaration, but a profound acknowledgement of a fundamental truth. The thrice-repeated word "holy" is not a mere literary device. In Hebrew culture, repetition emphasizes utmost importance. By declaring God's holiness 3 times, the seraphim magnify God's supreme holiness, a holiness that is unmatched and unparalleled. Moreover, the impact of their proclamation is tangibly felt, with the very foundations of the temple shaking. This reaction is not just a physical manifestation, but a spiritual one. It reminds us that true worship, born from a genuine acknowledgement of God's nature, has the power to move not just hearts, but the very fabric of our surroundings. The temple filling with smoke in response to their voices once again underscores the weight of God's glory. Throughout Scripture, smoke often represents the overwhelming presence of God. Just as with the Israelites at Mount Sinai, here too the smoke signifies a palpable divine presence, a testament to God's active engagement with His creation. Continuous worship is the essence of the seraphim. Their entire existence revolves around recognizing, revering, and proclaiming God's majesty. Through them, we gain insight into the heart of true worship. It is not about ritual or routine, but a genuine and passionate response to the God of all creation. As we delve into the characteristics and roles of the seraphim, we are led to reflect on our own responses to God. The holiness of God is the primary mission of the seraphim, which is to worship and declare God's greatness. But what can we, humans, learn from these celestial beings about our own relationship with the Creator? A primary lesson the seraphim teach us is the essence of true worship. Their worship is not a periodic activity. It is easy to confine worship to specific moments, places, or events. However, as we observe the seraphim, we are reminded that worship is not just an act, but an attitude of the heart, a continuous acknowledgement of God's sovereignty in every moment of our existence. Additionally, the humility of the seraphim, despite their grandeur and proximity to God, challenges our human tendencies. Often we seek recognition or desire to elevate our status. But these celestial beings, in all their splendor, exemplify ultimate humility before divine majesty. They serve as a reminder that true greatness lies in recognizing our place before God and serving Him with a humble heart. The act of purification by the seraphim, as seen in Isaiah's experience, is also a profound reflection of God's grace. Just as the seraph purified Isaiah's lips to prepare him for prophetic ministry, God, in His mercy, purifies and prepares us for our unique callings. The seraphim become instruments of God's sanctifying power, demonstrating that when God calls, He also equips and refines. The flaming appearance of the seraphim, resonating with their name, also carries deep symbolism. This burning appearance represents not only their intensity in worship, but also the purity of their love and devotion to God. If these magnificent creatures, so close to the throne of God, are consumed with the desire to worship Him, how much more should we, beneficiaries of His grace and love, be drawn to praise and honor the great Creator? In the presence of such inspiring devotion, may our hearts be ignited with the same burning passion to worship and magnify the Lord of all creation. May we always seek to understand and appreciate more deeply these wonderful beings as revealed in the Holy Scriptures, recognizing the grandeur of our Creator and responding with the same humility, reverence, and fervent worship. The symbolic implications for believers are profound. Fire in the Bible often represents purification and transformation. For believers, this serves as an allegory of the transformative power of God's presence in our lives. As we draw near to Him, we undergo a process of sanctification, where the impurities of our lives are burned away, shaping us more into the likeness of Christ. Another striking parallel can be drawn from the incessant proclamation of the Seraphim about God's holiness. Holiness, by its very nature, is set apart from the common or ordinary. When something is described as holy, it carries with it an intrinsic quality of separation, an elevation that lifts it above everything else. The Seraphim, in their fervent cry of "Holy, holy, holy," are not merely acknowledging God's uniqueness, but emphasizing an attribute of God that permeates everything He is and does, His transcendent holiness. The Bible emphasizes God's love, His mercy, justice, and many other attributes, but none of these can be truly understood or appreciated without first understanding God's holiness. His love is a holy love, not a capricious or mutable affection. His justice is rooted in His holiness, ensuring that it is never arbitrary, but always righteous and pure. Every facet of God's character, every act He performs, is deeply intertwined with His holiness. This is the foundation upon which all other attributes rest. The Seraphim, those who stand in God's immediate presence, understand this profoundly. Their declaration is a clear reminder that our perception of God must always begin with His holiness. This shapes how we approach Him, how we worship Him, and how we live in response to Him. The Bible says, "Be holy, for I am holy." 1 Peter 1:16. This call is not just about moral purity, but about setting ourselves apart for God's purposes, aligning our lives with His character, and seeking to reflect His image in the world. God's holiness serves as a beacon, illuminating the darkness of our world and the shadows within our own hearts. It reveals the areas in our lives that are inconsistent with His character, driving us to repentance and transformation. Moreover, when we internalize the importance of God's holiness, it affects how we see sin. Sin is not just breaking a rule, it is an affront to the very nature of a holy God. And as the Seraphim demonstrate, understanding God's holiness produces a deep sense of reverence and awe. It redefines our understanding of worship. Worship becomes less about routine and more about a heartfelt response to a God whose essence is unmatched and immeasurable. Worship moves us from passive observance to active adoration, aligning our hearts and minds with the rhythms of heaven. To truly know God is to know Him in His holiness. As we approach the Scriptures, pray, engage in worship, and live our daily lives, may the cry of the Seraphim echo in our souls, drawing us closer to the heart of a holy God and reforming our lives in the light of His profound holiness. As believers, we are called to be witnesses of God's love and grace. Just as the Seraphim ceaselessly declare God's glory in the heavenly realms, we are entrusted with the mission of spreading the good news of God's love and salvation on earth. Finally, the unwavering focus of the Seraphim on God underscores the importance of fixing our eyes on the eternal rather than the temporal. In a world full of distractions, the Seraphim exemplify what it means to have a singular focus on God. They do not waver, get distracted, or lose sight of their purpose. This steadfastness serves as an inspiration for believers to remain firm in faith, undeterred by the challenges and distractions of the world. While the Seraphim occupy a unique place in the celestial hierarchy, their attributes and actions serve as powerful lessons for humanity. Their undivided devotion, humility, and role as messengers of God's sanctifying grace provide a model for believers, guiding us toward a deeper and more genuine relationship with the Almighty. Among the most famous angels in the Bible, two stand out. The Bible is a book filled with angels, and they are a fundamental part of the spiritual realm, playing a significant role in the Bible and the Christian faith. By learning about angels, we can gain a deeper understanding of God's plan for our lives and appreciate the divine beings who are constantly working behind the scenes to protect and guide us. Now, there is some confusion regarding angels, as believers sometimes mix ancient Jewish texts, such as the Book of Enoch, with information found in the Bible. Allow me to list some angels mentioned in the Book of Enoch and then list the angels found in the canon of scriptures to clarify the matter. 1. Michael Rais is one of the most well-known angels. His role as God's messenger, tasked with delivering important messages to his people. Gabriel's appearance to Daniel signifies his importance in the divine plan and his function of bringing understanding and clarity about the mysteries revealed by God. This shows us that Gabriel not only conveys messages, but also plays a crucial role in interpreting divine visions, helping believers understand God's purpose and will. Therefore, as we study angels and their functions, it is vital to distinguish between biblical accounts and extra-biblical traditions, always maintaining a focus on what the scriptures reveal to us. These celestial beings, each with their specific purpose, are powerful instruments in executing God's plans, and by knowing them better, we can strengthen our faith and understanding of God's kingdom. The significance of the vision and its meaning for the future of the Israelites are crucial. In Daniel 8:18, we see that the vision and Gabriel's appearance were so impactful to Daniel that he fainted. Gabriel had to revive him. This shows us something important about angels. They are awe-inspiring, wonderful, and majestic creatures. After a brief introduction, the book of Luke, which is one of the four Gospels, begins with the narrative of a priest named Zacharias. Luke notes that Zacharias and his wife Elizabeth were considered righteous before God. Zacharias was a priest who had been chosen to enter the sanctuary of the Lord to burn incense when Gabriel appeared to him. Zacharias was gripped with fear, a natural human response when confronted with something beyond our understanding or experience. Gabriel reassured Zacharias not to be afraid, and then delivered the message that God had sent him. Now the question is, why was Gabriel there? Gabriel was sent by God to deliver the good news that Zacharias' wife, Elizabeth, would conceive a son who would be named John. This would not be an ordinary son, for he would be the one to prepare the way for the coming of the Lord, as prophesied by the prophet Isaiah. This was a divine encounter, a fulfillment of God's promise, and Gabriel was there to deliver the message. We also see that Gabriel visited Mary to announce that she had been chosen by God to give birth to his son, Jesus Christ. We see this in Luke 1:26-38. So, what can we learn from this encounter between Gabriel and Zacharias? First, we see that God is always working in our lives, and sometimes sends his messengers to deliver important messages. It is important to be open and receptive to God's message, even if it challenges our understanding or expectations. God cares about his people and is always vigilant. He is not a distant God, preoccupied with other things. He is a God who cares and is involved in the lives of his people. We do not need to live in fear. In Daniel 9:21-23, Gabriel addresses Daniel by name. In Luke 1:13, Gabriel addresses Zacharias by name. In Luke 1:30, Gabriel addresses Mary by name. God knows your name. He knows what you need, where you are in life. Never forget that. And Gabriel's ministry reveals this wonderful truth to us. In Daniel 10:13, the archangel Michael is described as one of the chief princes. This phrase suggests that if Michael is one of the chief princes, there are other chief princes that the Bible does not explicitly mention. This is a plausible conclusion to reach. Unlike other angels whose identities are hidden in the Old and New Testaments, Michael's name is mentioned in virtually every passage where he appears. The book of Revelation portrays Michael as a warrior angel. He led the battle against Satan and his angels in heaven and won the victory over them. In Revelation 12:7-9 we read, "And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." Wherever Michael is mentioned in the Bible, he is described as contending, fighting, or opposing evil spirits and principalities. He defends the things of God and the people of God, and we see this prominently in the book of Daniel. Throughout the Bible, both Michael and Gabriel are prominent in the scriptures, showing their distinct and essential roles in God's plan. These accounts of Gabriel and Michael offer us a deeper understanding of the spiritual realm and divine intervention in human history. They remind us that God is actively involved in our lives, sending his messengers to guide, protect, and communicate his will. Gabriel, God's messenger, teaches us about the importance of being open to divine messages, no matter how surprising or challenging they may be. His appearance to Daniel, Zacharias, and Mary highlights the personal and specific way God communicates with his people. Michael, the warrior archangel, teaches us about the spiritual battle that takes place beyond what we can see. His fight against Satan and his angels is a powerful reminder that evil is real, but God, through his angels, is always fighting for us and protecting his people. In summary, the angels Michael and Gabriel play vital roles in God's plan, revealing the majesty and power of the celestial realm. By studying their stories and actions, we are inspired to trust more deeply in God, knowing that he is actively involved in our lives, caring for us, and guiding us through his celestial messengers. Gabriel, the messenger of God, not only delivers messages, but also plays a crucial role in interpreting divine visions. His interactions with Daniel, Zacharias, and Mary reveal God's personal and specific communication with his people, highlighting the importance of being open to divine messages and understanding God's will. Michael, the warrior archangel, demonstrates the reality of spiritual warfare and God's protection over his people. His battles against evil forces, including his confrontation with Satan, show us the power and authority of God's angels in defending his kingdom and executing his divine plans. These accounts of Gabriel and Michael deepen our understanding of the spiritual realm and the constant care and protection that God provides for us through his angels. They remind us that we are not alone in our struggles and that God's heavenly messengers are actively involved in guiding, protecting, and strengthening us in our journey of faith. May we be inspired by the devotion and service of these celestial beings, and may our faith be strengthened as we recognize the ongoing work of God in our lives through his angels. Let us trust in God's promises, knowing that he is always with us, watching over us, and sending his angels to guard and guide us in every step of our journey. The angel who was sent to deliver the answer to Daniel's prayer was confronted by the prince of Persia for 21 days. Since this prince was able to oppose the angelic messenger to Daniel, we know that this prince was more than a man. He was a spiritual being. The fact that he is called the Prince of the Kingdom of Persia suggests that Persia has a spiritual being representing it. The word prince has the idea of a ruler or authority, which fits well with the New Testament idea that angels have organized hierarchies. Ephesians 6:12 tells us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Apparently, this was a high-ranking evil spirit, for he had the power to oppose Daniel's prayer for 21 days. If you remember, in the book of John, on 3 separate occasions, Jesus referred to Satan as the prince of this world. This leads me to believe that the prince of the kingdom of Persia was not an ordinary evil spirit, but a very powerful spirit, who resisted this holy angel for 21 days until Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help the angel. Michael did not bring the answers to Daniel. He only freed the angel from the attack of the prince of Persia. This means that angels have different hierarchies. The angel sent to Daniel had the answers to his prayers but could not defeat the evil spirit opposing him. But Michael came to his rescue and ensured that the answers to Daniel's prayer were delivered. He acts as a leader of other angels. He has the strength to fight and contend against evil spirits. He is indeed a leader among the angels. We see this in the sense that he led other angels to fight against the devil and his angels in the book of Revelation. There is a spiritual world around us, with powerful forces that literally affect our world. Never think for a second that what you see happening in the world today happens in isolation. This passage of Scripture just slightly opens the curtain to what is happening in the spiritual world right now. There are confrontations and battles between spiritual beings happening at this very moment. The prophet Daniel reveals to us that Michael has a direct connection with the nation of Israel. Furthermore, he reveals that Michael will have a prominent role in the end times. In Daniel 12:1-3 we read, "And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt." This shows us that Michael will be present and active during the time of trouble, defending and protecting God's people. He will play a crucial role in the final battle against the forces of evil, ensuring God's victory and the salvation of those whose names are written in the book of life. Both Gabriel and Michael are angels of great importance in the divine plan. Gabriel, as God's messenger, brings revelations and understanding, while Michael, as God's warrior, defends and protects God's people against the forces of evil. Their actions and roles offer us a deeper understanding of the spiritual realm and remind us of God's constant care and protection over us. May we learn from these celestial beings and be inspired by their devotion and service to the Almighty. May our faith be strengthened as we know that God sends His angels to guide, protect, and fight for us. And may we, like them, dedicate our lives to serving and worshiping God with all our hearts. An angel of the Lord, dispatched by God, was able to kill 185,000 men alone. Angels should not be underestimated. Normally, when you see representations of angels, they are cute, soft, and delicate creatures. This is not biblical. Angels are powerful beings. Jude recorded how Michael contended with Satan over the body of Moses. Jude 1:9 says, "Yet Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil he disputed about the body of Moses, durst not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, The Lord rebuke thee." This is the only passage in the Bible that clearly defines Michael as an archangel. Now, there are some denominations and beliefs that preach that the Lord Jesus Christ is Michael, the archangel. This is not true. Jesus is not Michael, the archangel. Nowhere in the Bible is Jesus identified as Michael or any other angel. In Jude 1:9, Michael states, "The Lord rebuke thee." If the Lord Jesus Christ were indeed Michael, why would he say, "The Lord rebuke thee"? It would make more sense for him to say, "I rebuke thee." This proves that Michael is not Jesus, as some groups have thought. Jesus rebuked the devil with his own authority. But Michael did not do this. Michael, the archangel, is just an angel. He is not God. Yes, he is a wonderful creature. However, he is still a created being and should not be worshipped. No matter how grand and heroic Michael appears, he is only a creation of God. He is not equal to God and therefore should not be worshipped. Every time people try to bow down and worship angels in the Bible, they are prohibited by them. Angels are ministering spirits. Sometimes we do not even realize what God is doing for us. In Psalms 91:1-9, we read, "He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Today I want to talk about God's protection. The Bible tells us that God is our refuge and our fortress, a very present help in times of trouble. In times of difficulty, it is important to remember that God is watching over us, even when we do not realize it. His protection is constant, and he sends his angels to guard and protect us from visible and invisible dangers. As Psalm 91:11-12 says, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone." This passage reminds us of God's continual intervention in our lives, protecting and guiding us. When we trust in God, we can be assured that he will protect us and keep us safe from evil. Psalm 91:11-12 says, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone." This is a powerful promise from God, assuring us that he will send his angels to protect us from harm and keep us safe. But sometimes we do not even realize that God is protecting us. We may be driving on the road, not realizing that we narrowly avoided a dangerous accident. We may be walking home from work, not realizing that we were protected from a potential attack. We may be going through a difficult situation, not realizing that God was working behind the scenes to protect and guide us. That is why it is important to trust in God's protection, even when we do not see it. We may not always understand why certain things happen or why we go through certain trials, but we can have confidence that God is always working for our good, even when we do not realize it. You and I know that God has angels, and the Bible tells us that he gives these angels the responsibility to guard us. There are angels who have the responsibility to care for you, who are guarding you in all your ways. Wherever you are traveling, God's angels are watching over you. On the way to work, on the way back home, on the way to the shops, or anywhere else, there is at least one angel watching over you. To this world, you do not matter. To this world, you are irrelevant. To this world, you are just another number or another body. However, not to God. To God, you matter enough for him to assign his angels to watch over you. God has given them the task of caring for you. You matter, you matter, you matter to God. The truth is that sometimes we do not even realize what God is doing for us. In Christianity, angels play a significant role in our lives and families, just as in all areas of our existence. While you listen to me now, it is highly possible that at least one angel is present in your home. Is it not wonderful? Psalm 91:11-12 says, "For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone." Often we neglect the angels mentioned in this part of the Bible. We do not think about the work they do to keep us safe. We should really thank God for sending angels to protect us. The President of the United States has the Secret Service to protect him, the best humans caring for him. But you, on the other hand, have secret angels watching over you, protecting your back. There are instances where God sent angels for special tasks. God sent angels to Lot. Lot was Abraham's nephew, and they parted ways. Lot went to Sodom and Gomorrah, where the people's sin was so great that God decided to destroy the cities. Angels were sent to warn Lot about the impending destruction and to guide Lot and his family out of the city. Genesis 19:1 says, "And there came 2 angels to Sodom at even. And Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them. and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. The primary task of these angels was to guide Lot's family out of the city, destined for destruction. Genesis 19:16 reveals, "And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his wife, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, the Lord being merciful unto him. And they brought him forth, and set him without the city." The angels of the Lord helped Lot's family escape the city and be saved from destruction. Likewise, God has also sent angels to you and your family to keep you safe from any harm that may threaten you. These angels are always present around you, never resting. God cares for us in ways we often do not realize, and His angels are a vital part of that protection. Therefore, the next time you face a difficult or dangerous situation, remember that God is working behind the scenes, sending His angels to protect and guide you. Trust in God's promise of protection and know that you are precious in His sight. He will always take care of you and send His angels to ensure your safety. May we live with confidence and gratitude, recognizing God's constant presence and protection in our lives. You can find comfort and peace knowing that God has sent them to be with you and protect you from any harm that may arise. Trust in His divine providence and rest in the assurance that His angels are faithfully watching over you. The truth is that sometimes we do not even realize what God is doing for us. Can you imagine how many times God has protected you, how many times He has made a way for you? Isaiah 43:2 says, "When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee." This is a powerful promise of God's protection for His children. But notice that He does not say, "If you pass through the waters," or "if you pass through the fire." He says when, because He knows that we will face trials and difficulties in this life. But He promises to be with us and protect us in all of them. So even when we do not realize it, God is constantly working for our good and protection. He is our loving Father who cares deeply for us and will never leave us or forsake us. As Romans 8:28 reminds us, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called according to His purpose." God is not a man to lie to us. He said, "When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee." Not an angel, not a person, but God Himself will be there. Whatever you are facing now, know that you are not alone. The presence of the Lord is with you. God was not just saying, "I will be with thee" to comfort or console you. He is saying it because He will fulfill what He said. If God says He will be with you, He will be with you. You need to get back to the presence of God. As believers, we know that God is our protector, our shield, and our fortress. Psalm 91:2 says, "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust." But what we often forget is that God's protection is not always obvious or visible to us. Sometimes we do not even realize what God is doing for us. God is working behind the scenes, protecting and guiding us in ways we may never fully comprehend. Think about it. How many times have you been protected by God without even realizing it? I want to encourage you to pray. I am here to say, go to Jesus, go to the presence of the Lord. You have a God who loves you and cares about you. Find a secret place and pour out your heart to God. Pour out your heart to Him. He will hear you. People will only listen to you for a certain amount of time and tolerate you to a certain extent, but you can spend time in the presence of the Lord. Even if you need to cry, you can cry in His presence. You can pour out your heart to the Lord. As 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Casting all your care upon Him, for He careth for you." God cares deeply about you and watches over you with great attention. As believers, we know that God is our protector, our shield, and our fortress. Psalm 91:2 says, "I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust." But what we often forget is that God's protection is not always obvious or visible to us. Sometimes, we do not even realize what God is doing for us. God is working behind the scenes, protecting and guiding us in ways we may never fully comprehend. Think about it. How many times have you been protected by God without even realizing it? I want to encourage you to pray. I am here to say, go to Jesus, go to the presence of the Lord. You have a God who loves you and cares about you. Find a secret place and pour out your heart to God. Pour out your heart to Him, He will hear you. People will only listen to you for a certain amount of time and tolerate you to a certain extent, but you can spend time in the presence of the Lord. Even if you need to cry, you can cry in His presence. You can pour out your heart to the Lord. As 1 Peter 5:7 says, casting all your care upon Him, for He careth for you. God cares deeply about you and watches over you with great attention. As we reflect on these powerful scriptures and the roles of angels in our lives, it's important to remember that their protection and guidance are a testament to God's love and faithfulness. In times of trouble, uncertainty, or fear, we can find solace in knowing that God has appointed His angels to watch over us. Their presence is a reflection of God's commitment to our well-being and His desire to see us flourish. Consider the story of Elijah in 1 Kings 19. Elijah was discouraged and fearful, fleeing for his life from Queen Jezebel. In his despair, he lay down under a broom tree and prayed that he might die. But instead of leaving him in his distress, God sent an angel to provide for him. The angel touched him and said, "Arise and eat." Elijah looked around and saw a cake of bread baked over hot, coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank and then lay down again. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him, saying, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." So he arose, ate and drank, and went in the strength of that food for 40 days and 40 nights to Horeb, the Mount of God. This story illustrates God's tender care for His servants. In Elijah's darkest moment, God sent an angel to provide sustenance and strength. This reminds us that even when we feel alone or overwhelmed, God is attentive to our needs and will provide for us in miraculous ways. Another example of angelic intervention is found in the New Testament in the book of Acts. When Peter was imprisoned by King Herod, the church prayed earnestly for him. The night before his trial, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with 2 chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. The angel struck Peter on the side and woke him up, saying, "Quick, get up." The chains fell off Peter's wrists, and the angel said to him, "Put on your clothes and sandals." Peter did so, and the angel told him, "Wrap your cloak around you and follow me." Peter followed him out of the prison, not realizing that what was happening was real. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city, which opened for them by itself. They went through it and walked the length of one street, when suddenly the angel left him. This account demonstrates the power and authority of God's angels. Peter's miraculous escape from prison shows that no earthly power can thwart God's plans. It also highlights the importance of prayer and the role of the church in supporting one another through intercession. As we consider these examples, we should be encouraged to trust in God's protection and provision. Whether we are facing physical danger, emotional turmoil, or spiritual battles, we can be assured that God is with us and that His angels are working on our behalf. Their presence is a reminder of God's unwavering love and His desire to see us thrive. In times of doubt or fear, let us turn to God in prayer, seeking His guidance and trusting in His promises. Let us also remember to thank Him for the unseen ways He protects and provides for us. By doing so, we align ourselves with His will and open our hearts to the fullness of His blessings. The assurance of God's protection should inspire us to live boldly and confidently, knowing that we are never alone. Just as the angels ministered to Elijah and Peter, they are ministering to us today. Their presence is a testament to God's faithfulness and a reminder that we are valued and cherished by our Creator. In conclusion, let us take comfort in the knowledge that God's angels are always with us, guarding and guiding us through every challenge we face. Let us be inspired by their example of unwavering devotion and service. and let our hearts be filled with gratitude for the countless ways God cares for us. As we walk in faith, may we experience the peace and joy that come from trusting in God's perfect plan for our lives, knowing that His angels are always by our side, ready to assist and protect us.